Cowboys Fact or Fiction. Statement number one, gentlemen. Dalton Schultz will have more receptions than CeeDee Lamb in 2022. Fact or fiction, Dalton Schultz will have more catches than CeeDee Lamb this upcoming year. Now, keep in mind, CeeDee Lamb this past year had 79 catches. Dalton Schultz had 78 catches for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll say that's fiction. Wouldn't surprise me to see Dalton get more, but I think with Amari Cooper out, CeeDee will get even more of the emphasis from the game plan. And I think Dalton Schultz had a nice season. Wouldn't surprise me, but I'd bet on CeeDee Lamb to have more catches once again, Brian.
I think General's right about this because I think there's going to be a focus on getting these receivers the ball. I think Mike McCarthy stepping in, he's going to listen, we have got to do a better job of scheming these receivers open. We've got to take advantage of the run after catch. If it requires, Mike McCarthy and his offense was about picks, screens, stuff like that to get
now
guys,
we're talking.
the guys to free guys up, and Dak has shown, hey, if a guy's open, I'll throw him the ball. And I kind of feel like that it's going to be an emphasis this summer on scheming these receivers up. If Dalton Schultz ends up with more receptions than CeeDee Lamb, Mike McCarthy gets fired this year.
Okay. I want to ask you this question real quick. Do you think that CeeDee Lamb will become the number one wide receiver that can be a complete wide receiver? Do you believe he's capable of running all of the routes and being a complete wide receiver where Kellen Moore can trust to utilize him in that way?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there were some questions about him with the ball security, the drops and stuff like that.
Led to see him in drops last year.
I mean, maybe there's a little bit of concentration lapse, but that's because I think CeeDee is so anxious to get the ball and take off and get up the field. I think you saw some of that at Oklahoma as well. I just want to see CeeDee Lamb have the opportunity, and maybe he wilts. Maybe he wilts on the stage. I don't believe that, but if he's now the one, and he needs to play like the one, and if that doesn't happen, then there is going to be a lot of problems for this football team. But I kind of feel like though that he'll be up to the challenge, and I think he can be a number one wide receiver.
I'm going to go fiction on that one as well. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be in position to get not just a ton of targets, but be much more sure-handed this upcoming year because all of the pressure is on him to be that number one wide receiver. Fact or fiction, Cowboys edition right here on the GBag Nation. Statement number two, gentlemen. Your man Jerry Jones will fire Mike McCarthy if the Cowboys start next season 3-6 after 9 games. Jerry Jones will fire.
Is that the bye week? Oh, we don't know yet.
No, don't know yet. Just I tried to find the halfway point because there's 17 of these things.
You and I have figured out the baseball schedule for our bye weeks.
So I tried to figure out the halfway point. I was like, 9, 8. Yeah. We'll go with 9. So,
by the way, it's startling to watch so many months of football and basketball and then watch baseball players run.
Yeah,
it's like, those are professional athletes too.
Yeah.
Okay, Jerry will fire Mike McCarthy week 9 if they're 3-6. What do you say, Brian?
I'm going to say 3-9 might mean that the defense wasn't very good either.
3-6 after 9 games.
3-6. I'm sorry, 3-6 in the defense. I think Jerry Jones will ride it out. I do. I don't because if it's the offense's fault for them being 3-6, I could see a firing. If it's like they're not playing well defensively or offensively, I think he just rides it out. And then maybe Dan Quinn doesn't get the shot. But the way, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because the way Dan Quinn's contract reads, I believe, his provisions in there, he could very easily be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He could very easily. But I worry about if it's 3-6, is it because they're 3-6 because of the defense? And do you want to name Dan Quinn the head coach
based on what the defense is
if the defense is not doing a good enough job?
I will say 100% book it by week 9.
Okay.
If they're that far below 500, maybe even sooner. Here's why. They want to see what Dan Quinn could do with this group before they look into the offseason.
There you go.
Gives them a chance to evaluate Dan.
I do wonder if Mike McCarthy and this team gets off to a bad start, how much he's been empowered to say, hey, if you feel like you need to make changes to your coaching staff, a la Kellen Moore, let's say the offense struggles for the first 9 weeks of the season. Does Mike McCarthy have the autonomy or the ability to say, in order to save my job, because what do coaches normally do when things get in trouble? They start looking to see who they can chop off their coaching staff to see if things can get turned around. I wonder if he would do that if he decided to, hey, maybe I need to move on from Kellen Moore to try and save his job. I do wonder that going into this upcoming season, if he would be willing to do it. But
I think he'd be willing to do that if Jerry was all right with it. But
I think you have to consider that all the time. I think if Mike McCarthy, I'll say this: if he feels like that his season's on the line and he doesn't get to be the primary play caller, and Jerry rebuffs that and all that, then Mike just needs to quit. You just walk away. Just like, okay, fine.
Because did the Jones step in and protect Kellen Moore in that case? If Mike McCarthy walks up to Jerry
if they're 3-6, there's something bad wrong.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be protecting anybody. Okay. You know, I mean, if you're Jerry Jones, is like, well, no, we need to keep Kellen, but you're 3-6. Why are you keeping him around? I'm trying to call plays here. Mm-hmm. You don't want me to call plays? You don't want me to turn this around? Then fire me. Fire him, fire me, or let him call the plays. And you could be 5-12 if you want.
Yeah, my biggest issue in that situation would be trying to decide if I want to fire Mike too. It's like, you want me to fire Kellen? I want to fire all of you.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Except for Dan Quinn. You get to stay around, my guy.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think Dan Quinn's contract, I know Dan Quinn's contract is very head coach driven, to be honest there.
It's a two-way contract.
Basically, yeah.
Just hang on, Dan Quinn. Just sit tight, man. Things might break your way.
Yeah.
Cowboys Fact or Fiction, final statement here. Number 3. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Trayvon Diggs will repeat as the group in NFL history, as the first group, or I guess it would be the second time, to have a 4,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard running back, 1,000-yard wide receiver, 10-plus sacks, and 10-plus interceptions in 2022. Fact or fiction?
That's fiction. I don't think Diggs is going to get 10 picks. I'll put him down for 7. I think he's still going to be in the top 3 or top 5 at worst interceptors in all of the NFL. But that 10 number was historic. If he does that again, it's going to get really exciting. It already is exciting watching him play football. But if you back up an 11 interception season with a 10, then you might be the greatest interceptor to ever play this game. And that would be pretty awesome. Considering the era we're in,
he's going to get a lot of chances to intercept passes.
Well, I mean, the quarterbacks are more careful with the ball than they've ever been. If you can have historic, 2 seasons combined interception numbers, I think that would make him the best interceptor ever, Brian.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I think the one that's going to be the struggle will be the 10 sacks by Parsons.
Oh, okay.
And I say that in a way because I think teams now know what he's capable of doing. And I don't think teams will let him. I think people will still throw at Diggs. He could very well have a high interception numbers. I think people will continue to do that. I just don't think people are going to let Parsons wreck shop. And that's why I think playing him at defensive end is probably a bad idea, because I think you have to keep him moving around to where he can make things happen, and not let people get a game plan for him that way, playing off the edge.
You don't think he's going to have to be more involved at right defensive end and passing situations and get more snaps where he can really rush?
I think that it's going to be more about how Dan Quinn can creatively come up with different ideas, because I just think that if you say he's going to play right end, they're going to space him, they're going to chip him, they're going to double him, they're going to do all kinds of things. They're going to trust that, listen, we could probably, and this is sound crazy, we'll probably have to double Parsons and probably single block Tank is what they would probably think. Because like I said, I just don't see teams letting Parsons wreck shop like he did last year. I really don't.
I think that's going to be one of the most fascinating aspects of 2022 is not just the maturation of Parsons' game overall, but how Dan Quinn will figure out other ways to make him effective on the field relative to what everybody knows about him now as a player. Because I thought, to me, the 10 sack one is one that I would pencil in, because I think he's going to be all over the field so much that I think they'll find ways to get him home. The 10 interception one, I think, is the one I struggle with the most there, because as good as he was, 11 interceptions last year, I just can't see him getting another double-digit year of interceptions. If he does, that's going to be phenomenal once again for the turnover rate, obviously, for this team.
You might not have the 1,000-yard rusher if you think about things. I mean, if they don't fix that running game,
Or maybe I named the wrong running back to get 1,000 yards.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. No, exactly. I mean, if more carries for Pollard, I wouldn't disagree with you. But we'll see what happens with Zeke with the knee and him coming back and all that. And maybe they do find a way to add a draft pick, a Will Hernandez, somebody there at left guard, and then maybe they add the center from Iowa. You never know there. And now, we're all talking about, Gavin's like, hey, fix this offensive line, and you fix a lot of your problems. I think that would go a long way into making that work.
Creatively
Yeah.
getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard is going to be fun to watch,
Yeah.
hopefully, for this offense this upcoming season.
They still haven't really fixed that offensive line. And, after Halloween, basically, it goes 51, 41, 32, 25, 45, 45, 37, 16. You end the season with 87 yards against the Eagles in a game where everybody was sitting out. But that's what I expect. 2.8, 3.5 yards per carry for Zeke. How likely is it, guys, that they fix what was a horrible run blocking scheme and run blocking execution? I just don't. I don't know how that all comes together.
I mean, hopefully you get younger and faster at certain spots on the offensive line to where you can get some of that athleticism back to be able to help that run game be better than what it was last year.
I guess it was so bad that I will be shocked if they go from what that was to a good running game. But I guess we have to acknowledge it was a good running game for 7 weeks.
For 7 weeks,
Before they kept running the running back out there with a torn PCL.
What's the injury? Yeah, how's that come back?
While we were doing our show, the NFL Network was replaying the Carolina game, and Dallas got into that 4-minute offense at the end, and it came down to running the ball. And they were able to. And Carolina was in a situation where they were the best run defense in the league.
It was insane. Yeah. Teams
At
were
the time.
Teams were trying to stop your run, and you were having success, and then they completely stopped.
Yeah.
And you fell flat on your face. Yeah. I have no idea what happened there. So maybe they did go into the Bermuda Triangles of running games, and they'll be able to snap back when we get into the regular season.